So how do you grow your music following without any money? How do you even make money as an artist? Or how did I and when did I start producing? All these questions are going to be answered in this music Q&A video coming up. Yo, Agwan, hope you're having a great day. In this video, I'm going to be answering a bunch of your questions. You can send me your questions if you're on my email list. Now and then I'll basically ask people to send me their questions so that they can be featured in a video like this. So join my email list. There'll be a link down below to join. If you download my free beats or you sign up to my free music production course, you'll be able to, or you'll be added to my email list basically. So just stay on there and wait until I send out the email for you to grab them. But first of all, question of the day, almost forgot about that. Question of the day is, what is your path to making money from your music? Let me know what you think that is. Like, how do you think you're going to make money from your music? Because I think a lot of people are in the same boat and they haven't really thought outside the box, and that's very important. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions today, and I'm gonna be answering 5 of them, and for one of them I'm gonna make a video on it, but I thought I might as well shout the person out who asked the question in this video because it's a very, very interesting question and something I really do want to cover. So first of all, we got a question from Jay Cartere. He says, okay, I don't want to ask a lot of questions. First of all, ask as many questions as you have. It's perfectly fine. I'll answer the ones that are good and get rid of the ones that aren't good. You can ask me the questions. I sent out the email asking you to ask me questions for a reason. Don't feel like you can't ask me a bunch, okay? Then he says, but I feel like you might be the right guy to give me an understanding on this. Thank you, I appreciate it. Appreciate your confidence. First question, how can I grow my Spotify listeners when I don't have any cash as an upcoming artist? Now, this is gonna be difficult because I guess a lot of people would say, you know, use ads, Facebook ads, maybe even YouTube ads and that sort of stuff. Personally, honestly, don't know if I'm the right person to ask about this because I am growing my Spotify listeners very slowly over a period of time because I'm not really focusing on it like that because I don't really care, because that's not the way that I make money. But the way that I'm doing it is by creating content. So if I wanted to just focus on making music and that being my career, like the music that I make makes me money and I make money from like Spotify streams and stuff like that, which is a terrible way to make money. But if that was my goal, what I would do is I'd make a bunch of content around how I make my music. So I'd break down the beat of making the beat for the song. I'd break down the songwriting process. If you've only got a few songs, then I'd even break that down a little bit more, and I'd break down how to write a first verse, how to write a second verse, how to write a chorus. I'd break down all those things into different pieces of content. I'd do it on YouTube, and I'd use SEO so that my videos rank highly and they bring in a bunch of views over time, and then over time you'll get more and more listeners. I've realized recently that a lot of people who are following my channel have never heard my music, and it's like, what? You're listening to me, like, you're taking my advice and shit like that. I would have assumed you check out my music to see if I'm worth listening to or stuff like that, but nah. So in my videos, in my tutorials, when I have the opportunity to do so and when it makes sense, I'll show an example of my song where it basically illustrates the point that I'm trying to get across in the tutorial, basically shows people how it can be done in a real world setting. So that's the type of thing that you can do, make content basically. That's the only way. If you don't have time, I mean, if you don't have money, you have time. So put your time in, make as much content as possible. I would suggest YouTube because that's what I know, but I'm biased. You could try TikTok. I don't know how that works, so I can't really give you any tips on that, but be consistent, post as often as possible, use your time to the fullest, and post at least 3 times a week. If you're not posting 3 times a week, you're slacking and you need to do better, okay? So that's that. Second question, is it possible for record labels to, he writes S/O, so I'm assuming that means shout out, right? Shout out at me, or maybe sign me when I have a less audience, when I have a small audience, I'm assuming. No, record labels don't give a shit, yeah. Real record labels, the record labels you're thinking about, like the major labels like Atlantic and Virgin, I think it's Virgin Atlantic these days, Virgin Atlantic and, you know, Def Jam, And I don't care about record labels like that, so I don't remember which ones are even out there at this point. Sony, because I stopped caring about them like in my teenage years when I sent out demos and no one was caring. But honestly, I was whacking it. I was whack back then, so I understand why no one cared. But basically, they don't care. Yeah, these days record labels are just going after people who already have an audience. Why are they going to go after you with no audience when there's people who have big audiences already? And I feel like your answer might be, because I'm talented, because I'm original, because I'm making great music. No one cares. No one cares, yeah? No one gives a shit. The record labels don't care if you're talented, if you're original, if you're making great music. They care about, are you going to be bringing in sales, yeah? And if you got a large following, a large listener base that already cares about your music, that's already buying your music or at least listening to it, then they're going to care more about you. Just think about record labels as a bank who are just investing in music artists so that they can make their money back. It's not a place full of creativity where they're artsy types and like, oh, we need to make the best album ever. No, it's about, let's make the most profitable album ever. I feel like if these major labels had a choice between making the best album ever that was mildly profitable and a mediocre album that was greatly profitable, they'd pick the greatly profitable one, because it's all about just making the money, innit? It's business basically. So your business isn't where it needs to be for them to be invested in you whatsoever. If you've got a small audience and you're not making money from your music, why would record labels care? Rarely in this day and age, you don't need a record label. You should be focusing on trying to build your career yourself and trying to build your own avenues to actually make money from your music, instead of relying on people who are rarely, all they bring to the table is money. I guess they bring experience and marketing experience and stuff like that, but you can learn that by reading books and by practicing by trial and error. And by the time you get to a point where a record label will be interested, you'd have to learn all that stuff anyways. So learn the stuff, innit? Learn the stuff, learn how to be self-sufficient. And once you're self-sufficient and you're able to put out content and put out music on a regular basis, that's when record labels will come a knocking, okay? Third question, what would you recommend me to do in order to grow my YouTube channel? Create content, the same kind of content that I was talking about in the first question. Create content that basically walks people through how you create your music and frame it as a tutorial, not just, hey, check out my music, because no one cares. If you say, hey, check out my music, no one gives a shit except for you and your mother maybe, and maybe some of your friends, yeah? Other people on the internet, they don't care. Like there's 100,000, maybe 100,000 million people. Nah, that's too much. But there's at least millions of people who are already doing that, innit? Already just spamming their content on YouTube or whatever social media platform and just begging people to listen. That's not the way to actually market. That's a terrible way to market. That's called outbound marketing. And really, it's spam generally, like the way most artists market. They just spam their links to a bunch of people, send their links to a bunch of people and be like, hey, listen to my music. And they're counting on a few people to actually listen to stuff. But honestly, that's not a great way to spend your time. It's much better to do inbound marketing by creating content that people actually want. For example, how to write a song from scratch. That's content that people are actually interested in. Even if people are not songwriters and whatnot, someone who just listens to music is interested in the way music is created, because it's like a mystery to them. So focus on that and you'll find way better results. Like focus on tutorials and help content, stuff that's going to rank highly in the search engine. Watch my video on SEO. I think, what is it called? SEO Explained or something like that. Watch that video and that will teach you a lot and how to rank on YouTube. And yeah, focus on creating content that people actually want instead of trying to create content and then trying to make people want it. That's a recipe for disaster. Fourth question from Jay Cartere is it possible to work with you without any payment needed? Yeah, but honestly, I only work with people who make music that I enjoy. If you're a producer, you can send me beats to my email, music@jaycartere.com. If you're a rapper, you need to be really, really, really good. And I'm only really want to work with singing rappers these days because that's the vibe that I'm on. I don't really need just any rappers on my songs. It's not going to help make the song any better, in my opinion. Like, I don't listen to that these days, so it's just not going to be something that's going to appeal to me. So I would say make a bunch of songs. If you haven't got at least 20 songs out, I don't want to work with you because you just haven't got enough experience at this point, and your music is probably going to be weak. Like, if we're being real, you probably don't think it's weak right about now, and that's good because that's going to enable you to continue making music until you actually get good. Your music's probably weak. Like, my first 20 songs, weak, very weak. My first 50 songs, I started to get better, but still not as good as the stuff that I'm making now, innit? So I don't really want to work with beginners, yeah, because that's just not, I don't need to do that, and I don't charge people to work with me. Like, I'm not like, oh, you can get a feature on my song or something if you pay me. If you want me to be on your song, I might be willing to take some money to do that, but again, it still needs to be a good song at least, and something that I'm feeling even a little bit for me to want to jump on it and spend my time writing to stuff, because I can just write on my own songs. If you want to use my beats, you can pay for that and buy them on my beat store, jaycartere.com/beats. And yeah, other than that, I don't produce for people, and I don't really go out on my way to do collaborations because most people are unreliable as hell, and I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for waiting on people and waiting for people to get stuff done. I'd rather just get everything done myself because it's a much smoother road. So that's that. Next, we've got a question from 57 Grace Completed, which I'm gonna touch on that name in a bit. But he says, so how do I get my music career up and going where it's bringing in a decent amount of money? And I replied to his email and basically sent him the link to my video on how to create your first digital product as an artist, how to come up with ideas for your first digital product. Watch that. Watch my videos on online business, watch my videos on YouTube marketing, learn how to make money online. Yeah, it's not about getting a bunch of streams or getting a bunch of music sales or making a bunch of money touring. Like, you can make a reasonable living by just creating a digital product that is adjacent to the kind of music that you make, basically. And watch that video and you'll learn a whole lot. I'll get in a whole lot more depth. There's no need for me to do that in this particular video, but basically create something and sell it. Create something that solves a problem and sell it. For example, if you're good, well, it depends if you're an artist or producer, innit? If you're a producer, you can make beats, but that's what everyone does. So that may not be the best route forward. But if you're really, really good at making beats, and you make beat packages instead of trying to sell one beat at a time, and you make them like ridiculous value. Like, generally an MP3 or basic license is $29.99. So if you sell 5 of them for like $30, ridiculous value, right? So stuff like that. Or as a producer, you can make templates. Like, I make templates. You can make loop kits. You can make MIDI packs. There's a lot of avenues as a producer. So if you're an artist, I suggest you start thinking about learning how to produce, because the avenues are just way bigger over there. As an artist, you can make a course on songwriting. You can critique people's songwriting and songs and stuff like that. You can do, there's anything that an artist does that you're good at, you can teach people how to do it. And so learn how to teach, learn how to communicate, learn how to market, read some books. Yeah. A book that I suggest for like your first toe in this direction would be How to Win Friends and Influence People. Another one would be, I think, Influence by something beginning with R, Dr. something, Dr. Robert or something like that, maybe. Read some marketing books, innit? They're going to help you out a lot, and they're going to help you learn how to communicate. And read some copywriting books that's going to help you learn how to communicate as well. Read some sales books, help you do the same kind of thing. After a few years of trial and error and reading these books and consuming this knowledge and, you know, putting it out there, you'll start to see some results. Like, it's not an overnight thing. It's going to take ages. Yeah, trust me, this ain't an overnight thing. But I did want to talk on your name because this gentleman asked me to tell people to stream his music. But honestly, I cannot encourage people I cannot encourage or promote things that I don't love or like a lot. I don't do that on my channel because I don't need to, innit? I haven't listened to your music, and honestly, I won't, because your name sounds like you're a Christian rapper, and my bias is telling me that's gonna be whack. You might be great, but my bias is telling me that's gonna be whack before I even listen to it. So I highly suggest you change your artist name. Not just because it's making you sound like a Christian rapper, because you might very well be a Christian rapper, but it's just too long. It's way too long. 5-7 grace completed. That's way too long for anyone to care to say. Like, you need to be super famous for people to be saying that sort of shit. Yeah, it's too long for an upcoming artist trying to get people to listen to their music. It's just not good. Yeah, 2 parts is the max you want in your name. Like Jay Cartere. Yeah, Lil Wayne, Lil Uzi Vert. I give him that 3 parts. But the Kid Laroi, 3 parts, but still, Lil Uzi Vert, 4 syllables. 4 syllables is the max you want in your name, yeah? Jay Cartere, 4 syllables. Royce da 5'9", 4 syllables. Eminem, 3 syllables. You have 6 syllables in your name. 5-7 grace completed. Too many syllables, yeah? 4 syllables maximum, no more than that. That's the sweet spot in my opinion, okay? 2 parts to your name will also make it more marketable, so I highly suggest you go down that road. Next, we've got a question from Eric Miller. He says, when did you start producing and how did you get your first collab? Okay, so I started producing, wow, this is very, very, very difficult for me to find this date, like 10 years ago. It's been at least a decade of me actually producing, but I don't remember the exact date, to be honest. It's currently 2021, so let's say something like 2011. I don't know. It's been at least 10 years. That's all I know, because I wrote it down at some point that it was like over 10 years, or maybe it was 9 years or something. I don't know. But I started producing a very long time ago, but I wasn't producing consistently in it. I was playing around with it. I was producing a little bit. I wasn't really a producer. I don't count me being a producer until basically when I went to uni for production, because that's when I was actually producing on a regular basis. When I made my dance EP called The Love Story, that's when I was actually producing. And I believe after that I did Anything, and I produced the majority of the tracks on there as well, like Natural Phenomenon and Drug Music and that sort of stuff. And then after that, I took a break from music for at least 2 years to get my money right and learn business and learn a bunch of stuff and make sure that I could pay the bills and keep a roof over my head and that sort of stuff. And then after I did that and I was ready to come back to music, that's when I really started to get into production really real. And that's like the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. So I would say actively producing, proper producing, about 2 to 3 years of really going hard and being consistent. But in all of just producing over time and learning things and trying things out, about 10 years and whatnot. And I've been making music for a while, innit? Since I was like 13. I'm currently 27, so maths is 15 years I've been making music. So there's that. How did I get my first collab? I don't collab. I don't collab like that. I don't know if you're asking first collab as a producer. I don't do that. But as an artist, collaboration, I mean, when I was young, I would email producers that I like or contact them on like social media and whatnot to see if they could send me some beats. So I guess that counts as a collab. Other than that, when was my first? I think my first collab was my friend's brother who was a rapper, and then my collabs after that were artists that I was recording in my home studio that I thought were good. So I did some collabs with them and had them on a song or two. No, my first collab was probably when I was 13, when I was just making music with my friends and we were just collabing together. But the rest of what I said will give you more help in the collab area, I'm assuming. So yeah, those were my collabs. As I said before, I don't chase collabs or anything like that, because the issues with collaborations is you need to rely on someone else, and a lot of people are unreliable, especially artist types. Yeah, artist types are the worst. I don't know why, like creative types, just super unreliable. Yeah, I've found in my experience at least. So I don't go out my way to chase collaborations or anything like that because I don't like dealing with unreliable people. I like to have vertical integration in my music creation process, which means I control every step of the process. I make my beats, I mix and master them, I record my vocals, I mix and master them, I mix and master the song, I upload it to my distributor, and I create my artwork. Bob's your uncle. We're all done. I control every step of the way, so I don't have to rely on anyone. I can get everything done by myself, and there's no excuses. There's no reason why I can't put out music because I'm waiting on this from that person, and they need to get back to me, and they haven't gotten back to me in 2 weeks and stuff like that. That's the worst way to create, and I hate that. So I stay away from that. So last question, which is the question I'm actually going to make a video on, is from Skipper May. He says, how do I make my 808s really sink in with melodies, man? I just can't seem to get it right. Now, before I create the video that you're asking for, which I will do, I do have a video on drum programming, so go and check that out. And in my free course that teaches you, my easy 9-step method or 9-step formula to create trap beats, go to jaycartere.com/free trap course. I believe I go into the 808 programming in that as well, so that should help you out. And then in my paid course, my foolproof formula for creating R&B trap beats in FL Studio, that goes into drum programming in depth and basically teaches you how I was doing my drum programming when I created that course, which was about a year ago. So go through those. That will give you a lot of information. But this particular thing of like how to get the 808s in sync with the melodies, first of all, you'll use the basic formula that I give to you in my video, my free course, and my paid course. That will basically get you set up correctly. Like I feel it's like on bar 1 and then hitting on 2.1 and then 2.4, I think, maybe. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But this will be better in a video, and like it'll be easier to explain in a video. But there is also there's formulas to it, as well as it's kind of a feeling thing. Like you can't really, it's hard to tell someone, yeah, do this every single time. But I'm sure I can come up with some tips and some rules of thumb that will help you have a more effective 808 pattern in your melodies and whatnot. Something that I can give to you right now is if you're making a beat that's upwards of 160 BPM and you've got maybe a 3-chord pattern, you can just follow the chords, yeah, especially if the chords aren't hitting exactly on the bar. Then you can just follow the chords with your 808 pattern and it will sound pretty good, kind of like what you hear in Surfing, that song by Young Thug. I believe that just hits on the chords. I don't remember, not 100% sure, but that's the type of vibe you'll get from doing that. So that's that. I've got some videos on drum programming as already. I've got a video on how to add drums to your melody as well. I think that's the video I'm talking about. I don't know if I've done more, but watch those. And I'm going to get on making this video because it's such an interesting question, and I'm sure I can give you some more insight into how to get this even better. And I want to share some more information that I've learned over the past year in my production and in, using 808s and making them line up with the melody and making sure that they fit the right groove, because I think that is something that you learn over time through feeling, but it's also something that I can probably illustrate very well in a video. So we'll see. Okay, so that's that. If you want to ask me any questions in my next Q&A video, sign up to either my free course or get my free beats or buy something from me. You'll be added to my email list and you'll get the email when I send those out. Links down below. And that's that. If you got any questions or any other tutorials you want me to make in my next video, leave those down below in the comment section. And in the next video, you'll learn more about music, online business, and online marketing. I'll see you there. Peace out.